All right, mech warriors, we're going to ask the question. We're going to explore the battlefield tactica. What happens in Battletech when you run out of ammunition? You're in the middle of the battle. Things are heating up. You just fired off your last salvo of missiles. Your autocannon's dry. What do we do tactically at this point? Now, obviously, if you're running an all-energy mech, this is not a concern. And there are many reasons to run all-energy mechs and some significant advantages. And the two advantages worth touching on just to help frame this question and build our tactical list for today. Energy mechs, of course, no ammo. So as soon as you're in range, you're going to take the shot. Even before you do the calculations, you know you need 12s, you'll take that shot. And then likewise, internally in the supporting systems, you don't have ammunition that is going to explode. So when it goes to internals, at least you don't have to worry about that. Yes, you still have to worry about engine hits, gyro hits, motive hits, losing that weapon or losing some heat sinks, which can be a little bit more crippling because generally energy weapons will generate more heat compared to ballistic type weapons and missile weapons, although some of the heavier missile weapons run pretty hot too. But from that perspective, they are a lot more resilient. But if we're looking at that typical inner sphere mech that has a mix of ammo-dependent ballistic weapons and energy weapons, along with some missiles, how do we approach running out of ammo? Now, a lot depends on the mech. A Battlemaster. Battlemaster is just the first mech that came to attention. Or let's say my favorite, the Marauder. I mean, can I make it through a vlog without mentioning the Marauder? If you run out of ammunition with that SRM 6-pack on the Master, or you run out of the autocannon on the stock Marauder, you still have that PPC. You have those PPCs. You have those lasers. Are we ever going to run out of machine gun ammo? I mean, maybe if you start with 10 or 15 shots, so you try to protect yourself rather than the full bin. But in this instance, being a heavier type mech or an assault class mech, you have other options. And running out of ammo is not necessarily going to cripple you. Now, if we jump back and dial it down, we've been making our way through the various mech reviews for the technical manual. We've made it through the mediums, and we're getting ready to jump into the heavies. If we look at the Enforcer, which is a medium-type mech, it's got some good weight. Its primary weapon is an autocannon. It squeezed one in there with some other weapons and some good armor. It doesn't have that many shots, so you want to maybe conserve your firepower. If you run out of that, do you have significant backup weapons? So what you'll see on some of the lighter mechs that are ammo-dependent, when that weapon runs dry, that was your primary attacking weapon. You know, that was your AC-10. That was your big points of damage, or an AC-5 is your primary. When that's out, that cuts your firepower by a third or a half. Now, you're still in the game at that point because you still have other weapons. Ideally, you're working as part of a lance. So there's other mechs that maybe can push the heat a little bit more, or that you can stick close to and lend some fire support. Maybe you're not now primarily attacking. Maybe you're working on a little bit more defense or working with the lance mates. So I won't say it changes things super significantly. Obviously, we want to try to conserve ammo, but I'm still of the mind, generally speaking, if I think I can take a shot, I will probably take that shot, because at the start of a game or the beginning of a battle, I know my mech's up. You know, I know all systems are running, everything's good. As we move into the middle and end game, and not only do I start taking damage, but more firepower starts coming my way, crazy stuff can happen. I could take that head shot. I could take that roll for damage on the chart, you know, roll for location, snake eyes, center torso, roll for crit, confirm 2 crits, roll for crit, engine. I mean, you know, crazy stuff can happen from that perspective. So I still generally do play a little bit aggressive with ammo-based mechs. But where things really hurt are ammo-based support mechs. If we are looking at something like the Jaeger mech, if we are looking at something like the longbow, perhaps even the archer, although archer is kind of a hybrid, I don't include the blackjack in there. Blackjack's kind of an interesting place. It is one of my favorite mechs. It's like an energy boat mech that they slapped on some autocannon 2s. And the ammo for the autocannon 2 is pretty significant. It's going to be rare you run dry. Even if you run dry, you still got a brace of nice medium lasers to fire on that. But within that aspect and that setup, primary mechs that have missile boats or autocannons as their weapon, when they run dry, now they're in trouble because they might have some secondary weapons, but it'll be some small lasers or maybe one or two medium lasers. For the weight class, if that's an assault mech, that's nothing. And from that perspective, now you have to ask yourself, how do we switch the role? What do we do? And this is assuming we've run completely dry. Not I'm making it halfway through the battle and I see my ammo's getting lower, so maybe I fire off one shot, or maybe I redeploy to try and get closer to make those shots count more. We're out, we're dry, we're done. At that point, I will look at the condition of the mech. How much damage has it taken? Maybe I will cycle it into a lance just to get those two medium laser shots or to get those small laser shots to get like a fresh mech up there. But otherwise, generally speaking, what I try to do at that point is keep the mech alive. If I can't tactically add damage to the battle, what I can do is keep that mech up as an initiative sink. And an initiative sink becomes very, very important as we start taking losses and move into mid and late game, where I've lost a couple of vehicles, I've lost a couple of mechs, you've lost a couple of mechs. Having something sitting somewhere that if I lose initiative or even if I win initiative and I want to move a key piece later, I can have that dry longbow sitting somewhere and say, okay, look, initiative, the longbow is going to just stay, or the longbow is going to run across to the other side of the map. Burn that initiative. It still has use. So this idea, we never want to think in the narrative of like, okay, I'm out of ammo, let me just run in and go crazy. But likewise, because we want to preserve our mechs in that narrative, but likewise, it still has value for the initiative sink. When I start to run low or dry, if we look at something like the Archer, we've got battle fists. And if we have tonnage, if it's a heavy or assault mech and I have the tonnage and I've got fists, then I will join the lance or I will become aggressive with whatever group is moving forward and I'll punch. Now I'm out of ammo. Let's get close. Let's get up there. And often I'll do that even if I have ammo. But at that point, things can also switch. Never discount physical attacks. Some of us tend to be more aggressive with physical attacks and have them as part of a regular part of our tactica, which I certainly do. Others are a little more conservative because maybe they want to stay at range and leverage that until the last minute. Other people will look and wait to see where they can rush in. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do physical attacks, but those mechs that run out of ammo that can still make them and have the tonnage, they're still in the game. They've still got a lot of bite. They've still got a lot of firepower. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Mechs that you're in the middle of the battle, you're out of ammo, you're out. What changes or do things significantly change? And going back to our example, you run out of ammo for your Battlemaster or your Marauder. Does that really change anything compared to you run out of ammo for your Jaeger mech or your longbow? How does that change things?